Colossal question.
What if you never cut your fingernails? It might seem like fingernails just grow right there on the surface, but there's more to it than that. The spot where the skin meets the nail is called the cuticle. Under your cuticle is the nail matrix, where new skin cells are continuously created. As more and more skin cells are made in the matrix, the older cells are pushed out. As they're pushed, the skin cells change into a protein called keratin that flattens and hardens into a nail. That brand new nail continues to grow, slowly sliding along a nail bed of soft tissue. There are all kinds of things that can affect how fast fingernails grow. They grow faster during the day, during summer months, when you're young, and when pregnant. They also grow faster after a bit of light trauma to the nail, like after you bite them or break them. In fact, a bitten nail grows 3 times faster than a healthy nail. Your nails grow at different speeds too. Index, middle, and ring fingernails grow fastest, while your poor pinky tries to keep up. The thumb comes in last place as the slowest nail on your hand. Okay, so that's how your fingernails grow, but what would happen if you just stopped cutting them altogether? Well, to answer that question, we have to look at some of the longest nails ever recorded. As of 2023, the world record holder for longest fingernails on a pair of hands belonged to Diana Armstrong. Her combined nail length measured in at over 42 feet and 10 inches, longer than a school bus. She hasn't cut her nails since 1997. As you might imagine, having nails that long makes it hard to do all kinds of simple tasks, and upkeep isn't easy. The nails are so long that they take over 4 hours to paint, and between 15 and 20 bottles of nail polish. Okay, so that's how long your nails can grow if you spend decades managing their growth. But how long would they get if you left them alone without all that extra effort? They'd become pretty annoying, honestly. Once they get long enough, nails stop growing straight and start to coil and twist. The longer they get, the curlier they become. Your nails won't grow to record-breaking lengths naturally. That takes a lot of upkeep, but they can still get up to a few feet in length. But eventually, all that extra nail will start to get brittle and eventually break. So, cut them, bite them, or wait for them to break. Whatever you've got to do to keep them reined in, because scrolling is hard with twisting tendrils on the tips of your fingers. Why do we have bones? If you think about it, having a skeleton inside your body is a little weird, but it definitely beats having no bones. Without them, you'd be a big blob of skin, hair, muscles, and organs that would not be ideal. Your skeleton, spooky as it might be, gives your body shape, helps you move around, protects your vital organs, and even helps produce new red and white blood cells. Another freaky fact about your bones: the number of bones you have inside your body actually changes as you age. As babies, you have about 300 inside your little body. But by the time you grow up, you'll have only 206 bones left. Huh? It might sound like some sort of freaky Halloween trick, but the reason we lose some of our bones as we get older isn't actually all that spooky. You see, babies have a whole lot of growing to do, and quickly. To give their new bodies plenty of space to grow into adults, some of their adult bones start out in pieces. As you get older and bigger, those bones grow and get bigger too, forming and fusing together to eventually form one big bone. And just like that, you've lost some of those baby bones. Your skeleton is divided into 2 systems: the axial and appendicular skeletons. The axial skeleton is made up of all the bones in the trunk of your body, which is basically the middle core part of your body. The appendicular skeleton is all the bones in your limbs, including your hands, arms, feet, and legs. Fun fact, more than half your bones are in your hands and feet, 27 in each hand and wrist, and 26 in each foot and ankle. One more creepy fact, your bones are actually alive. And like any other living thing, they need to be properly fed and nourished. Calcium is a super important mineral for feeding your bones, so make sure you're getting enough. Milk has lots of calcium, but if that's not your jam, try cheese, yogurt, kale, broccoli, spinach, soybeans, figs, oranges, and kiwi, to name just a few options. And just as important to bone health as a good diet is getting good exercise too. When you exercise regularly, your bones keep up with all that working out by building even more strong, dense bone. In other words, the more you work out your body, the stronger, denser, and healthier your bones get. If you don't take good care of your bones, they'll start to have issues, just like any other part of your body. Unhealthy bones get brittle and break easily. Without strong, healthy bones, the rest of your body can't be strong and healthy. So, why do we have so many bones in our body? Because all 200 plus of them work together to give us our shape, help us move, protect our organs, and produce blood cells to nourish our bodies. In other words, without bones, we'd all just melt into pathetic puddles. Literally. And if you ask me, that's way freakier than a skeleton. What would happen if you never pooped? Some people poop 2 or 3 times every day, and others might poop every few days. Experts can't say for sure exactly how long a human can go without pooping. Why? Because all of our guts are different. Diet, exercise, and lots of other things determine the specific rhythms of your intestines. In other words, everybody poops on a different schedule. So how long you can go without going changes from person to person. If you poop 2 or less times per week, then you have constipation, which is a pretty common condition. When this happens, stool gets backed up inside your intestines. It doesn't feel great and isn't very healthy. Constipation can cause bloating, nausea, stomach pains, and can leave you with the terrible, unending feeling that you've gotta go, but can't. So, the longer you go without pooping, the more backed up you'll get and the more pain you'll feel in your belly. But that still does leave one colossal question hanging. How long can someone possibly go without pooping? As we said earlier, there's no set amount of time humans can go without having a bowel movement. But if it goes on longer than a week, it's probably time to talk to a doctor and get it figured out. There have been some extreme cases reported about people being hospitalized after going weeks, and in a few cases, even months without pooping. So, how do you actually kick a case of constipation before it gets that bad? Well, you can fix your diet by drinking more water and eating more foods with fiber like fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. You can get more exercise by just going out to play. Even something as simple as going outside to run around can do wonders to help get your bowels moving. Stress can definitely make you constipated too. The more relaxed you are, the easier it is for your body to do its thing. If you're all stiff and stressed, so are your insides. So try and keep calm and poop on. And for more serious cases, doctors can prescribe different medications that can help you get back to pooping on the reg. So, the bottom line, how long you can go without pooping differs from person to person. But if there's one thing you've learned, it's that you're definitely better off not finding out. Why are feet so stinky? The reason your feet tend to stink a bit more than other parts of your body is because of bacteria. Those pesky little organisms live all over our skin, but they particularly love our feet. For bacteria, it's a little bit like going to an all-you-can-eat buffet. Yup, as icky as it sounds, those little critters love feasting on oils and dead skin, and your feet are full of both. The more bacteria eat, the more they can grow and multiply. That's actually not such a bad thing. Having a foot covered in oils and dead skin cells isn't great, and the bacteria helps get rid of them. Bacteria gets rid of that waste, turning it into organic acids as a byproduct of eating it. And that leftover acid just so happens to smell bad. Really bad. like that distinct stinky foot smell. Now, your whole body contains oils and dead skin, so why does bacteria especially love your feet? Well, that's because bacteria loves dark, damp, warm places. And your feet, stuck inside your shoes and socks, are just about the perfect place for bacteria to thrive. The same is true for your armpits too, which is why they also tend to be stinkier than the rest of your body. The more walking and running you do, the more you'll sweat. And since bacteria loves heat and moisture, the more you sweat, the easier it is for bacteria to grow. So that's why feet get so stinky. The perfect place for bacteria to thrive. And the more you sweat, the worse it gets. But what can you actually do to prevent it? Make sure to wash your feet well with antibacterial soap. Wear socks that aren't too thick and wear shoes that aren't too tight. And avoid shoes made of materials that hold in a ton of moisture, like plastic or thick boots. When you're at home, maybe try going barefoot so your feet can get some fresh air. If you keep them clean and dry, the bacteria will have to find a meal somewhere else. So next time you take off your shoes and a noxious fume fills the air, don't fret. It just takes a few simple steps to get rid of the embarrassing smell, if the stink doesn't knock you out first. What is pain? Picture this. You're just trying to play with your friends on the playground on a windy day when, boom! Out of nowhere, a big bushy branch cracks off a tree and barrels towards the ground, straight at your head. Whew, that was close. But you're not out of the woods yet. That's because a huge slobbery dog is off its leash and bounding right for you with fire in its eyes. Ah! But before the bark becomes a bite, the owner calls and the dog obeys. Whew, that was even closer. To celebrate avoiding not one, but two highly dangerous scenarios back to back, you're feeling like $1,000,000 and decide to hit the swings. But before you know it, all the adrenaline from all the excitement has you swinging a little too high until, wham! You fly off the swing at Mach 5 speeds, crashing to the ground in a heap with your pride bruised and your arm broken. Ouch! It might hurt a whole lot, but believe it or not, all that pain coursing through your broken arm is actually good for you. I know, it definitely doesn't feel like it, but that pain is one of the key ways your brain works to protect you. Say you put your hand too close to a flame and get a little burn. That first burst of pain gets you to notice that you're getting a burn. It hurts, so you move your hand away as quick as you can before the burn gets worse. And it's not just burns, bumps, and bruises. Pain can be the first sign that you're getting sick. Maybe you wake up with a headache or a sore throat. Maybe it's a red, runny nose. Without all those aches and pains, you might not even know you're getting sick. And the sooner you know, the sooner you can get started on the road to recovery. If you never felt pain in your arm after your epic tumble off the swings, then you might not even know the bone is broken. The pain keeps you from moving it around, giving the broken bone time to heal. Okay, so that's why we feel pain, but how exactly does pain work? What's happening inside our bodies whenever we feel pain? Well, anytime you damage your skin tissue, like from a cut, scrape, burn, or from a broken bone, it's almost instantly noticed by nerves in your skin. Nerves are a bit like wires that carry signals from one part of the body to another. When you get a break, cut, or burn, the nerves in your skin send signals up through your spinal cord to the brainstem and then into the brain. Then the brain takes all the info that it got from the nerves and analyzes it. Once the brain figures out what kind of injury it is, it'll send a message back to the spot that's in pain. That's the moment when you first start to feel pain and react. All of that message sending usually happens in a split second, which is why we usually feel pain instantly after an injury. Without those receptors sending messages to your brain, there wouldn't be any way to know you just broke your arm on the swing. or at least not until you tried to use it. Of course, some things are so painful that it's hard to imagine how they could possibly be helpful or easy for your body to fix. So, what are some of the most physically painful things humans can experience? Well, things like really bad bruises, migraines, broken bones, and of course childbirth are all well known to be quite agonizing. Bullet ants, for instance, have the most painful sting on the planet. It tops the Schmidt Sting Pain Index, a scale that rates how painful different stings are. Doctors group physical pain into 3 main types. Nociceptive pain is when your actual body tissues are damaged, like with a cut, burn, or broken bone. This type of pain can be sharp or throbbing and usually made worse by movement. Neuropathic pain is when there's a problem with the system that sends and receives pain messages, your nerves, spinal cord, or brain. Most neuropathic pain is felt as a tingling, burning, shooting, or electrical sensation. Now, let's say your broken arm led to long-term nerve damage in your arm where the break happened. It's unlikely, but it can happen. In that case, you'd be feeling neuropathic pain. Psychogenic pain is when fear, depression, stress, or anxiety make a regular nociceptive or neuropathic pain feel way worse or last way longer than it normally should. Let's say you broke your arm right before the big championship game, and now you can't play. That might make you so upset that your arm can actually hurt worse. That would be considered psychogenic pain. Doctors also distinguish between acute pain and chronic pain. Acute pain doesn't last long, and it's usually a way for your body to warn you that something's wrong. As soon as the injury or disease that's causing the acute pain starts to heal, pain starts to go away too. By the time you're fully healed, acute pain will be completely gone. Chronic pain is a little different. This type of pain is called persistent pain because once it starts, it doesn't easily go away. Most chronic pain is caused when your pain receptors become too easily activated, making your brain feel like you're in pain even when there's no real reason for it. It can last months, years, or even a lifetime, and can be difficult for a doctor to treat. If you went flying off the swings, a doctor would classify your broken arm as acute nociceptive pain because the pain was a result of damaged bone tissue and you likely won't have any pain after it heals. So, why do we feel pain? It doesn't matter if it's a stubbed toe, childbirth, a bite from a bullet ant, or a broken arm. We all feel pain for the same reason, so that we know there's an issue. Without pain, we might not even notice something bad is happening to our bodies, and we wouldn't be nearly as quick to react. But when you're in pain, it's almost impossible to ignore. So while it's never pleasant to be in pain, just remember, it's an essential part of keeping you alive and well, even if it's sometimes hard to believe. Can you clone yourself? Believe it or not, cloning has been happening in nature for ages. Tiny living things like bacteria or other single-celled organisms reproduce by creating exact copies of themselves. Cloning happens inside larger creatures too. It even happens inside of us. How? Well, humans are made up of about 100 trillion cells. As cells grow and divide, they naturally create clones by dividing in a process called mitosis. You see, cloning is the creation of an exact copy of any organism. Clones can be as big as sheep or as small as a single cell. So, your body is full of cell clones. Same for all other living things. Nowadays, when people think of cloning, they're usually imagining someone making exact copies of creatures in a lab. That's called artificial cloning. Even that is nothing new. Since ancient times, humans have been planting stems or leaves from other plants to make new ones. Animal cloning, on the other hand, is a much more modern invention. Artificial animal cloning became world famous back in 1996 when a sheep named Dolly became the first mammal to be successfully cloned. She was cloned using cells taken from her mother, an adult sheep whose cells made Dolly. This type of artificial cloning is called reproductive, when you create identical offspring for an original animal. This is done by taking DNA from cells of the original, just like with Dolly. Using reproductive cloning, scientists have managed to clone farm animals like sheep, cows, pigs, and goats. They've also cloned mice, rats, rabbits, mules, horses, cats, one dog, a macaque, and other animals. Okay, so that's the basics on how cloning works, but why do it in the first place? Well, experts hope cloning can progress to the point where human cells can be made in a lab. Scientists hope to use those cells to treat and maybe even cure major diseases like diabetes, Parkinson's, MS, and other illnesses. This all might sound a bit freaky. Could there someday be lab-grown clones walking around? Well, not anytime soon. Current tech is nowhere near capable of cloning an existing human being, even if they wanted to. And even if they did want to, creating a clone of someone wouldn't create an exact copy of them. Identical twins, for example, have all the same DNA, yet they still have unique fingerprints. They also tend to be slightly different, even if they look almost exactly alike. If you ever get to know a set of identical twins, you'll notice that they have unique personalities and little quirks that make them different from each other. The same would be true for a clone, too. They might have all the same DNA as another person, but their life and experiences might make them into a very different person over time. So, while cloning might seem a bit strange on the surface, it's not quite as freaky as science fiction makes it seem. Or at least, not yet.